Have you ever wondered why it's important to pay yourself first? It's a simple concept, yet it's one of the most powerful principles in financial planning. This idea, popularized by the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, essentially means setting aside a portion of your income for your future before anything else. Why is this so critical? Because it's the first step towards building wealth and achieving financial independence. It's not about being selfish or ignoring your bills. It's about prioritizing your financial future. By paying yourself first, you're investing in your future self, ensuring that you're taken care of before any other expenses come in. This principle is a game changer. It shifts your mindset from living paycheck to building a secure financial future. And the best part, anyone can do it, no matter their income level. Now let's dive into a story about someone who learned this financial principle and how he applied it in his life. Meet John, a typical guy living paycheck to paycheck. In the midst of the hustle and bustle of everyday life, John is just like any other hardworking individual. He wakes up every morning, grabs a quick cup of coffee and heads off to his 9-to-5 job. He's got bills to pay, a fridge to fill and a tiny apartment that he calls home. John's life is a constant cycle, a never-ending loop of work and bills. Every month his paycheck lands in his bank account and before he can even think about saving, it's spent. Rent, utilities, groceries, car payments, they all take their piece, leaving John with barely enough to scrape by until the next payday. He's always hoped to save for a rainy day, but that day seems like a distant dream. His financial situation hangs over him like a dark cloud, casting a shadow over his everyday life. It's a constant source of stress, a nagging worry that never quite goes away. John often finds himself lying awake at night, his mind racing with thoughts of unpaid bills and mounting debts. He's frustrated and overwhelmed, feeling trapped in his own life. His dreams of financial freedom seem unreachable and he's left wondering how he ended up here. Despite his hard work, John is always just one paycheck away from financial disaster. One unexpected expense, one emergency, and he could find himself sinking into debt. It's a precarious position to be in, and John knows it. He's living on the edge, teetering on the brink of financial ruin. But John is not alone. There are millions of others just like him, struggling to make ends meet, living from one paycheck to the next, feeling trapped in a cycle of financial stress and uncertainty. John knew he needed a change, but he didn't know where to start. One day John stumbled upon the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and discovered the principle of paying oneself first. This was a concept that was entirely foreign to him. His routine had always been to pay his bills first, then live off what was left. The idea of reversing this order seemed counterintuitive, almost reckless. He thought, how can I possibly save when I barely have enough to cover my expenses? Despite his skepticism, something about the principle intrigued him. It was a bold approach, one that challenged conventional wisdom. After much contemplation, John decided to give it a try. He figured, what's the worst that could happen? I'm already living paycheck to paycheck. So he took the plunge. The next time he received his paycheck, he immediately set aside 10% for himself. Before he paid his rent, before he settled his utilities, before he even bought groceries, he paid himself. It felt strange, almost like he was stealing from his own wallet. But he had committed to the experiment and was determined to see it through. The first few weeks were tough. His budget felt tighter than ever. He had to cut back on non-essentials and make certain sacrifices. There were times when he doubted his decision, questioned the logic behind the principle, but he stuck to it. He reminded himself that this was a long-term strategy, not a quick fix. He was investing in his future, not just surviving the present. Gradually, John began to notice a shift. He was no longer living on the edge, anxiously waiting for his next paycheck. He had a safety net, a buffer that gave him a sense of security he had never felt before. More importantly, he was building wealth. His savings were growing, and for the first time he felt like he was making real progress. Despite the initial challenges, John remained committed to this new approach. He realized that paying yourself first isn't about disregarding your responsibilities, it's about prioritizing your financial well-being. It's about recognizing that you are your most important creditor, and that's a lesson John would carry with him for the rest of his life. Fast forward a year, and John's financial situation had drastically improved. Our friend John, once the paycheck-to-paycheck guy, had embraced the wisdom of paying himself first. The decision to prioritize his financial well-being over his bills and expenses was a game-changer. He had managed to accumulate a substantial nest egg, a savings account that grew with each passing month. This wasn't a fortune that fell into his lap. It was the result of a deliberate choice, a decision to invest in his future. John didn't just squirrel away his money either. He took his savings and put them to work. He researched and invested in a diverse portfolio of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. He didn't become an overnight millionaire, but his investments started to yield returns. The profits might have been modest at first, but they added to his savings, creating a cycle of growth. With each passing month, John's financial stability solidified. He was no longer living on the edge, anxiously awaiting the next paycheck. Instead, he had a financial buffer, a cushion that insulated him from unexpected expenses and financial emergencies. He could breathe easy, knowing that he had a safety net. But it wasn't just about the money. John's transformation brought with it a profound sense of peace and satisfaction. He was no longer a slave to his bills or his paycheck. He had taken control of his finances and in doing so, had taken control of his life. He was free from the constant stress and worry that once consumed him. He could plan for the future, dream big, and work towards his goals with confidence. John's journey wasn't without its challenges. There were months when the bills piled up, when his resolve wavered, but he held firm, sticking to his decision to pay himself first, and in the end, it paid off. John's story is a testament to the power of paying oneself first. It's not a magic bullet or a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a simple principle, a mindset shift that can lead to profound financial transformation, just like it did for John. So, what can we learn from John's story? Well, the first key takeaway is the principle of paying oneself first. It's a simple concept, yet it's incredibly powerful. By setting aside a portion of your income for yourself before paying your bills or other expenses, you prioritize your financial future. This is not about being selfish, but about ensuring that you are financially secure before you attend to other financial obligations. The second key takeaway is the significant impact this principle had on John's financial situation. He went from living paycheck to paycheck, barely scraping by, to building a substantial savings and investment portfolio. This didn't happen overnight, and it wasn't easy. There were times when he had to make tough decisions and sacrifices, but by sticking to the principle of paying himself first, he was able to gradually improve his financial situation. The third key takeaway is the applicability of this principle. Regardless of your income level or financial situation, you can apply this principle in your life. Start small if you need to. The amount you set aside is less important than developing the habit of paying yourself first. Over time, as your financial situation improves, you can increase the amount you set aside. And finally, we must remember that this principle is not a magic bullet. It won't solve all your financial problems overnight, but it's a crucial step towards financial independence. It forces you to think about your financial future and to make conscious decisions about how you spend your money. It's a mindset shift that can have a profound impact on your financial health. So, consider implementing this strategy in your own financial planning. Experiment with it, adjust it to fit your needs. And remember, it's not about how much you earn, but how much you keep. Remember, when it comes to your finances, always pay yourself first. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.